time now to get to our first guest of the day, and we've been talking a lot about him over the past week and over the past couple months as we've been anticipating the release of The Smashing Machine. It comes out this Friday, theaters nationwide and worldwide. The reviews have been fantastic. We had Benny Safdie on yesterday. I have said, the director, of course, time and again, since you've all known me, that the Smashing Machine documentary, which was released in 2002, is the best MMA documentary of all time and certainly my favorite. And I told Benny yesterday that The Smashing Machine is now the best MMA feature film of all time. And I believe very strongly in that statement. Of course, it's about the Smashing Machine, Mark Kerr, the former UFC tournament champion, the former Pride FC competitor, the former Vale Tudo champion back in 1997, the current UFC Hall of Famer. He is kind enough to join us on what has probably been a very busy week for him. Hello, Mr. Mark Kerr. It is so great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
From the Tonight Show to the Ariel Helwani Show, talk about the penthouse to the outhouse, my friend, but I appreciate the time very much.
No, this has been a journey where I can't even I'm failing to be able to communicate the reality of what I'm feeling. It's just been incredible to the point where having Benny involved, DJ involved, Emily involved, A24, it's just all the right people to be able to tell this story.
Well, I appreciate that answer off the bat, because something that I've always loved and admired about you from afar is how thoughtful you are and how introspective you are. That's what really comes across to me anytime I see any type of interview. Even I was watching an old interview with you and Jerry Millen from way back in the day after one of your fights when you knocked yourself out. And even in the post-fight interview, it's like, man, you don't hear this type of stuff from athletes. So even that answer speaks to that. And so can I just ask you, Mark, is this surreal for you, to be going through all of this about this film, about your life, about everything that you've been through, to have this sudden burst? There's old interviews of you saying, I just kind of live a mundane life, and now nothing is mundane about your life anymore. You're on the Tonight Show, for goodness sakes. How are you processing all of this?
It's taken me a minute to get to a place where I can just sit in it. I think the best advice I got so far is Howie Long actually said to me, stay in the moment, be in the moment, be where your feet are, and try to really just be present with everything that's going on. And he said, just soak it up. Yeah, that was fun last night. That was actually really fun.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, because I told this to Dwayne yesterday. I said, since the Hall of Fame induction, I said, I didn't know I needed that. I didn't know I wanted that. I didn't know that little tiny hole that was left in me. I didn't know I was still trying to fill it up, and nothing would fill it up except that circle of recognition to circle back and to go, hey, part of what you did helped build where we are. Thank you. And that was the incredible part about the Hall of Fame. It just closed up this tiny little hole that I had left in me. And, it's given me a sense of, that was amazing. That was absolutely just jaw-dropping amazing that Emily would take time out of her schedule and DJ would do the induction speech. And, it was, that was an incredible night. Incredible. I get emotional talking about it now.
I can understand. At any point, does it get overwhelming? Does it get to be too much? This is all about your life and your journey.
Yeah, part of what, from the very, very, very beginning, the thing that Dwayne had promised me, he said, this is important to everybody that's involved. We're going to treat it with as much respect as we can, and we're going to have reverence for it, and we're going to move forward with it with tenderness and authenticity, and all these things that you would hear and go, God, man, I hope that. And from day one till where we are now, he's done every single thing he said, and really treated this as, like he says, it's changed his life. It's changed his life for a lot of different reasons. Everybody involved needed this film to come along when they needed to come along for a bunch of different reasons, including myself.
And you know what's really interesting about that? I was just about to ask you about it. Obviously it's a big deal for you, and I'd love to know what you mean by that when you say including yourself. But it seems like The Rock really needed this. Excuse me, Dwayne Johnson. It's hard not to call him that.
Yeah.
It seems like he was in a place in his career where he was feeling like, these blockbusters weren't doing it for him. He wasn't
Mhm.
getting that respect as an actor. And it seems like playing you and getting to show people that he could be a serious actor and a dramatic actor has been like the perfect medicine for his soul. Like this was therapeutic for him. The way in which he talks about playing you and being a part of this feels like it has been a gift for his soul. Do you get that sense as well?
Oh, I for sure. He's made it crystal clear that he could do blockbuster movies, superstar, secret agent. He could do that all day long. And there's a place for that and there's a time for that. And he loves making those movies. But a lot of it's almost, and he said this, it's like stay in your, they were telling him, stay in your lane. Like, no, 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 no. You can't do this. You can't do that. And, I've told DJ, I said, your whole life they tried to put you in a box and nothing fits. Nothing fits. You can't play in the NFL while you own a league. You can't do this while you own this. You can't do that. And so every time they've tried to put him in a box, he's broken out of that. And this was the opportunity that he had to really do something contrary to anyone's belief of what he was capable of as an actor.
You said just moments ago that you needed it as well. What did you mean by that?
Um, I- it's like one of those. Oh gosh, it's complex because it's like one of those where in my life right now, I live a life where I feel like I don't need anything. It's, I try to live my life present in the moment where I'm not searching or looking for something that I need to fill something in me. Right. But I didn't know that I needed this just, it's validation that what I did meant something. When I put myself out there, in 2002, you know, it was shocking the first time I ever watched the documentary. For 3 years they captured all this film, and I didn't see a single stitch of footage, zero, nothing, until I saw it when I sat down in Dolby Sound Studios in Studio City and watched the film for the first time, the documentary, and I got up in shock. And I hadn't signed a release yet. I still had final veto over the product going out or not. And I felt like, oh my God, what did I do? There's no way I could put this out there. No way. Just no way. Can't do it. And then finally, coming to the conclusion that, John Greenhall had said to me, something along the lines of like, if somebody watches it that's struggling with the same things you're struggling with and is able to ask for help, then you've saved one person's life, and that gives you a worthy life. And that was kind of the thing I needed to hear.
Can I ask, going back to the very beginning, how were you even approached about doing the documentary? So I'm guessing this is early 2000s, right? John
Yeah,
Hines is the
it's
director.
99,
Okay.
99. So John Hines is the director. He did the editing as well. John Greenhall is a producer, and John and I were at Syracuse together.
By the way,
He was one
fellow
of our
Orangeman
slates.
right here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, there you go.
We got, we
There you
got, we
go.
got Otto right there for you, right here. Right here. You see him?
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
There he is. There he is.
That is awesome. I didn't know that. I
Apologize,
didn't know
apologize.
that.
Please keep going.
No. So, anyways, as it turns out, John Greenhall, who was in Newhouse, went to film school, and he said, "Hey, I want to come and do a documentary." And at that point, anybody that had shown up to do a documentary had the little Best Buy or Circuit City flip open screen, camcorder looking through the little thing, and it was one of those where I was like, "Okay, yeah, you want to come?" And so I got him permission to come over and film the Will Champion fight. And he shows up with these, two $15,000 Sony cameras, a boom mic, crew of people. And I'm like, oh, fuck you. You really do want to make a documentary. Like, oh shit. They film it. They film some of the leading up to it. And then it just happens to be, in that time frame. I mean, it's all, looking back on it, it's all that needed to happen, obviously. And I was so delusional at the point where I figured I could operate and be around them and, be on, the painkillers I was on and all that stuff and nobody would notice. Yeah. That didn't go so good.
Why were you so open? Like there's scenes in the doc which I've watched again, and it takes
Yeah.
me back to that era. And like you're going through all the drugs and stuff like that. You're
Yeah.
there with your girlfriend, and I'm thinking to myself, why did he agree to this? Why did he allow them
Yeah.
to shoot all of this? Do you remember why?
Yeah, I do. I do. You know, when they started filming, when I got back after the LaChantia fight and they started filming, I was just in such a downward spiral. Like I said, I really thought like I was fooling everybody. Nobody knew, that, what was going on with me. And so John Greenhall put the camera down and the film crew's out in the kitchen. They're out in the kitchen living room, puts the film down. I shut shut the door to my bedroom and him and I just sit down and talk. And he's like, "Hey, you need help." And, at that point it was like that because I hadn't told anybody. The only person on the planet that knew anything that was going on with me was Dawn, and it was this shame and this guilt and, all of these things that were in me because I hadn't been able to communicate this to anybody that I was addicted to drugs, that it was just, I didn't know how to get out of where I was. And we had just talked and he said, he had said, something like, just, let me in, and I'll figure out how to help you. And it turns out where I said, "Okay, you want to see what I'm really doing?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he goes to the camera and he brings it over and that was a moment where it was like, it was relief for me. It was absolutely relief that somebody else knew what the fuck was going on with me.
Wow. Did Dawn, your significant other at the time, did she try to convince you not to do it?
At that point, there was I wasn't listening to anybody.
Okay.
I wasn't listening to anybody. I was so buried in, all the bullshit that I was going through. It was one of those where, once I let John in, it was in. You're in full force.
Once the movie came out and you're watching yourself go through all of this, what was that like? The aftermath. It gets incredible, reviews and accolades,
Yeah.
but it's getting those reviews and accolades because you're so open and honest about your trials and tribulations. Everyone else is enjoying it, but this is still you and all your warts in front of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it still had, from watching the documentary when that came out, seeing the reaction, when I went, so I was sober when I went to the premiere they had at HBO for the documentary, and they had a Q&A afterward and all that stuff, and it's at their headquarters here in New York, and they have theaters at top, and after it was done, I'm in the lobby, and a 65-year-old grandmother comes over to me who normally would have nothing in common with me, zero, and she starts this conversation with me, and a minute in the conversation, she says, "My grandson has problems with alcohol, and I think he has problems with drugs." And we have this conversation about her grandson, and it like opened the door for her to start talking to me about something that's personal and private. I tell people talking about addiction in public, it's like talking about masturbation, right? It's just a subject you don't bring up in public or you don't talk about. So inherently, it's difficult to talk about those personal things. But when somebody watches, this big, strong, powerful dude, break it down and talk about these very sensitive and emotional things and openly and expressing myself in a way where it's like, I'm giving you everything when I talk to you. I'm speaking from my heart, I'm speaking from a place, and it gives people the freedom to be able to do the same.
In the aftermath, did that make seeing yourself on camera, like on the big screen, acting this way, did that help or did it make it worse?
You know what helped? Like watching DJ play me and watching Emily.
Oh, I meant, sorry, in the aftermath of the doc coming out, like I'm talking like early 2000s, seeing yourself raw form doing that stuff. Did it help you or did it make it worse?
it helped. It definitely helped. You know, back then they don't have the resources they have now. It's not like I could get on the internet and start searching for like, hey, what happens when you stop using opiates or what? Yeah, they had none of those resources. So getting that out and not feeling like I was trapped in it, where I
Mm.
had nowhere to go, the shame just buried me. That was a huge relief. And then to see how receptive they were to watching it and how much they identified with just the humanness of it, that was, it was liberating. It really was liberating.
How did you find out that Dwayne Johnson wanted to make a movie about your life?
I got contacted by William Morris, his agency, and the agency put us in touch. And it's like one of those phone calls where I'm like, it's in disbelief. It's like, yeah,
Mm.
okay, sure, you want to make him all right, yeah, okay, we'll see if it happens, kind of thing. And it's like, he goes, no, I'm gonna make the announcement, I'm gonna make it a BMF belt and all this stuff, and that happens, and I'm like, oh my god, man, this thing is gonna happen. And then pandemic,
Right.
right? And then through the pandemic, get out of it, writer's strike, Screenwriters Guild, all these obstacles kept popping up. So I tell people, I go, I had Dwayne's cell phone number for 4 years. I didn't text it or call it once.
Mm. You didn't want to check in. You weren't. I'm sure you
Nope.
were curious.
I was curious. There's moments where I'm like, but me calling him, it would have been like, are we making it yet?
Yeah.
Are we making it now? Are we making it now? And it turned into this thing where I'm like, I have no control over it. I'm just going to give it to the universe, and the universe wants this made. It will get made. And so I just let it go because I had to live my life without that being part of it because it was such a variable. I've heard people go, yeah, it took me 30 years to get the screenplay made.
Wow.
I'm like, well, it could take 30 years.
Where are you at
You
in
know,
life in 2019 when you get that call that this is going to be made or going to attempt to be made?
I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm a year, about a year and a half sober or so, a year and a couple months sober.
Okay.
And like just not like the fear of like this taking off and like, oh my God, man, I don't know if I have enough sobriety to get through this because this is a lot. It's like, the world isn't the world it was 25 years ago with all the social media and all the different, things out there. It's going to be a completely different experience.
Have you remained sober since that period?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been sober 7 years now.
Wow.
7 years. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
You have tried
Thank you.
to be sober, and I'm sure because in the movie, in the
Yeah.
doc, you get to a point where you're sober,
Yep.
but it sounds like
Yep.
you were on and off.
I get to sober where, our narcotics, opiates became just a thing of the past, and I moved beyond that. And then the slow, insidious part of what alcohol is, and that, and a lot of the, it's just one of those things where it's just like it's how I'm built, how I'm wired. I have a very addictive personality with things that I do. I mean, to be a really good fighter, you have to be selfish. You have to be addicted to what you're doing because it takes such a concentrated effort to do it. And then, alcohol just slowly just started creeping in and it became more and more and more and more of my life. And in 2018, September 4th is my sobriety date. And
Wow.
I said at my Hall of Fame speech, September 3rd, 1996, my mom died. And so my son knows this. My son's 14 at the time. He came up to me and said, Dad, I know you need to drink today, because it's a sad day. Your mom died, but would you stop tomorrow? And it was like one of those statements where I'm like, at the time, I'm like, I'm just going to give my son another empty promise. Like, yeah, I got you. I'll stop. I got it. And, and then for whatever reason, and I stopped asking the whys. The next day when I got up, at that point, I probably drank every single day for I don't even know how many years. And at that point I got up and it was like just something was a little different.
That
It was
first
just a
day
little
that you go
different.
on set and you see Dwayne playing yourself, and one of my favorite things about the film, as we talked to Benny about yesterday, are all the little details: the Nautica sweatshirt, the bad boy, the full
Incredible,
contact fighter,
incredible.
the
Yeah.
Hofstra shirt.
Yeah. Oh my
Like
God.
it's
It's
just
just
it's
incredible.
unbelievable, man. What is that like for you to go back? Like, we very rarely as human beings
Oh,
get to go back and relive our lives like that. What is that like for you?
oh my God. So when they brought me up to production, pre-production first, I had sent them boxes and boxes of stuff. Every single thing that I had saved, every little thing that I thought would be useful, not understanding the context of how it's going to be used, how it's going to be made, where it's going to end up. And so when I go up to production and I see like all this stuff that was in my kitchen and being reproduced or acquired online and a wall of screen grabs, the producer Dave Copeland, uh, he was behind me and he was just gauging my emotional state because he knew it was overwhelming. He knew it was like he would just lean into me and he would go, "Are you okay?"
Wow.
And I would go, "I'm okay, Dave." He goes, "You you don't have to walk off through this because you could take a break." And I was like, "No, no." So I go to like costume and it's like all my track suits and all my sweatshirts and all the Hofstra t-shirts and all this stuff, which was just it was it was mind-boggling how so this is like just hats off to Benny, how important it was for him, like how like he probably told you they built not movable walls, they rebuilt 4 rooms in my house
Wow.
from 25 years ago. So there's running water, there's there's electricity, there's all this because when he wanted DJ and Emily to get in this, he buried all the cameras, he buried all the lights. So when they were there, and I said, "You know what, Benny?" So watching that scene, I felt like a voyeur. I felt like I was looking and watching the neighbors who had this big window open and I could watch them and hear them. And it's this feeling. And he goes, "That's what he wanted to create." He wanted to create because I felt myself looking at it, but feeling like I shouldn't be watching what I'm watching, even though it's my life.
Wow.
I mean, just the thought for detail and everything. And the creativity of Benny to do that just allowed DJ and Emily to get to a place emotionally where you see it, how raw, how just really fucking raw that last scene is and how intense it is. And for me to see that, it was like, that was the part which was completely therapeutic and like just I could let go of those last little parts of shame that I was holding on to, going, I'll own that because that's my part. And there's no getting around it, man. There was selfishness and self-centeredness in this, pursuit of what I was doing. And the consequences, people around me suffered. They had to endure, even though my goal was to raise everybody up. It's like it was such a huge fucking cost, because everybody had to pay a price in it. And then you had addiction in. That was another price nobody signed up to pay, but I didn't care because I just wanted what I wanted.
Wow, man, what a gem you are. It's really so, I hate to say refreshing to hear you speak because I know you're in pain talking about this stuff, but you rarely hear public people speak like this about their issues, and so I really really do appreciate it, and it's been a common theme throughout your life. I know we have to wrap, so I just want to ask, just curious, like, how are you now, Mark? Like, how is life
Oh
for
my
you now?
God.
And what do you do? How do you spend your time when you're not out on the Tonight Show
Yeah.
set
Yeah.
promoting a movie about your life with Dwayne the Rock Johnson? What does Mark Kerr do from, because we haven't heard
Oh,
much from you for quite some time as
no,
far as MMA is
no,
concerned.
no. So I'm remarried, which is a
Congrats.
miracle. Miracle. I have a beautiful wife, and her and I have a company called Absolute Wellness, and so I spend a lot of my time helping her. I love talking. I don't like sitting behind a computer. So any meeting my wife sets up, there you go. Any meeting my wife sets up, I sit and meet with clients and stuff like that. She's been in this space for 20, 24 years. She designed amenity spaces, fitness centers. She does it for multifamily housing, municipalities, master plan communities. She does it coast to coast. So that occupies a lot of my time. I'm in the process of finishing a book proposal to get a book out there next year. And there's other aspects where I'm starting, I'm finally on top of my health where I actually can go in, and I have a 21-year-old son, Bryce. Dawn and I have that son together, and he's training. He goes in, he loves boxing, he loves jiu-jitsu, and my whole goal is to get healthy enough to go in and roll around with him where I can now.
Wow.
So that's actually a small little miracle as well.
I love it. Any chance he follows in your footsteps, that he becomes a fighter?
He has the aptitude for it. He has grit. He had just grit for a kid. He loves boxing. He's just enamored with the footwork. I can catch him. Like, I can walk in a room and he'll be sitting there shadow boxing.
Wow.
And it's just one from a young age. He wasn't watching the punches in the face. He's watching the footwork. And I'm like, I didn't get that until I was fighting, like how important that was. So there's a chance, but he's singularly driven to be successful, which is a blessing.
Mark, you're a blessing. Your life is a blessing, and it's amazing what the journey has where it's brought you and what it has done for you and for others as well. Again, I'll never forget. I'll say this very quickly before I let you go, and this isn't about me, but I just want to let you know how much the doc meant to people like me. I watched that doc in 2002 at Syracuse University. I was very lonely. I was very depressed, and my comfort was MMA. That was like I had an MMA radio show at the time that no one listened to. Absolutely no one listened to. But it was impossible to find any MMA content. And here's HBO showing an MMA doc. I'm like, holy crap. As you know, at the time, no one talked about MMA. I couldn't believe it. And then you see what you show us. And so that was the greatest MMA doc of all time till this day. But I felt like it was like hours. Like, I hope no one messes this up. And so when I heard that Dwayne Johnson was going to do a movie, I was nervous because I was like, I don't want it to get ruined. And as I said to Benny yesterday, it's now the greatest MMA doc of all time and the greatest MMA feature film of all time, because they nailed it. All the details for the hardcore old school fans was just like a trip down memory lane that I know how it meant for me. I can't even imagine how it meant for you to watch it. And now to see all the love and attention that you're receiving warms my heart. And I don't really know you on a personal level, but I'm just so happy for you. I really am so happy for you. You know what?
That means the world, because that was the intent from the beginning. And like I said, everybody involved treated it with such care and reverence. And, because I'm alive still, like the biopic where I'm alive and that feedback, and they understood that. So they had such respect for putting something out that I could look at and be proud of. And on the other side of it, this is the big thing. I'm finally in a place where I can give myself grace. And that's all part of this.
God bless you, my friend. All the best to you. Congratulations. And so happy to see that you're in a great place, and enjoy everything that comes with all the success of the film. You deserve it, Mark. Thank you so much for the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you again.
There he is, the smashing machine, the original Mark Kerr. What a guy. I hope from the conversations that we have had this week with Benny Safdie, with Mark Kerr, from the conversations that the team has had about this film, I hope that you all, go check out the film. October 3rd it comes out, which is in 2 days. And then I hope you all check out the doc. And I hope that some platform like Netflix or HBO Max puts it on so that you can watch it in the best kind of format quality possible, because it really is worth seeing. It really, really is. That was phenomenal. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.